Now for the 5-minute concluding statements, we'll start with Mr. Richard Perle. The podium is yours.
I have sat this evening and listened at, I think, probably greater length than I would have desired to a vision of a world that I have never seen in my years in government, to the vision of a world in which a small number of men foolishly, in order to enrich themselves, are prepared to inflict suffering and cruelty throughout the world. This is not a policy that I recognize. I trust that for most of you it's not a policy that you recognize. I have heard it said that the National Aeronautics and Space Administration is a front for the Pentagon, that the United States has committed atrocities comparable to Pol Pot, that Europe is a quasi-democratic order, that the reconstruction of the post-war world was done for the convenience and the benefit of a few self-interested men who cared nothing about values, nothing about democratic institutions, nothing about the well-being of anyone beyond themselves. I've even heard it said that when the U.S. managed to assist in an agreement between Egypt and Israel that followed 3 wars and much destruction between those 2 countries, that was intended to assist Israel to retain a military occupation. It's a deeply cynical view of the world, a view said to derive from documents, but I must say to you from a profound misreading of documents. It is a view that recognizes no decency in the making of American policy or its implementation. It is hardly in the interests of enlightenment on this occasion to go through refuting point by point the documents I've not seen. That seems to me quite beside the point. You know from your own experience, you know from your own observations what the people of this country represent, and by and large, although mistakes get made from time to time, and in any human organization mistakes will be made, I think you know and understand what the American people represent and what their elected leaders represent. They do not represent what Professor Chomsky says they represent. And if you believe that that is what this country is all about, if you believe that we are organized principally to serve the selfish interests of a few, and that the historical experience of this country since the war has been dedicated and devoted to that, and I think you will have a lot of difficulty explaining the enormous prosperity, the benefits of democracy that this country has managed to bring to much of the world. And I ask you, as you depart this evening, to consider whether the world you've heard described tonight by Professor Chomsky bears any relationship to the world in which you live and make observations of your own. Thank you.